What's up, everybody? Shawn here with a live to roll. This week we are talking about one of my favorite topics to talk about, one of my favorite things to do, which is quad rugby or wheelchair rugby as it's properly called now. And we have some awesome guests. We have Mandy, who's super cool rugby player from the East Coast and from Virginia. Bobby, who's old school rugby player. Me, who's playing, and Tom, who's trying to get into playing. So we got a
Yep.
whole spectrum of players today. So we'll just do some quick intros. My name's Shawn. I'm a C5, C6 quad from a snowboarding accident 17 years ago. Tom, you want to do a quick one?
What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us again this week. I'm Tom Conaway, a C5, C6 quad from an automobile accident 24 years ago. And toss it on over to Bobby.
Thanks a lot, Tom. What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Bobby Rowan here, C5, C6 quadriplegic from 32 years ago, result of a bicycle accident. But enough about us three knuckleheads. Let's move it over to our guest. And Mandy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks for having me on the show. So I'm a C5, C6 complete quad from a car accident back in 2003. So I'm coming up on 18 years. And so my injury was a result of the car accident. I was in the backseat of our minivan and we had stopped at a stoplight and were rear-ended by an elderly distracted driver. So yeah, so I've done a lot of things since then and got into adaptive sports a few years ago, and just excited to be on the show and talk about rugby.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for being here with us today. We're super excited to
So glad
talk
to have
about
you.
some quad rugby. So, Shawn, did we want to get kind of started with what quad rugby is? I don't know, you and Mandy are probably the best at explaining the sport and some of the rules and stuff. So do you guys want to maybe dive in on that?
Yeah, I can get into a little bit. Just basically, I'll give a brief, just a kind of basic explanation. So quad rugby, technically, or wheelchair rugby, is now actually properly called. I messed that up because it was quad rugby to me for so many years. But the reason why it's quad rugby or originally because you need four limbs of impairment, or you need to have your upper limbs also impaired. So that's why like parents and stuff don't play the sport. You need to be a quadriplegic, but that doesn't mean you have to be a quadriplegic from a spinal cord injury. That means you just have to have impairment to the limb, which includes amputees who actually sort of dominate the rugby sport at this point, but also anything like cerebral palsy, MS, anything that impairs mobility. That's basically all you have to do to qualify is just have the impairment, and then from there's like classifiers that will kind of give you a level of function that you have to show you how much you can do on the court, or like which I'll explain a little bit more in detail in a few. But the basics of the game is we play 4-on-4 indoor on a basketball court, and to score a point, you go over. Well, actually, there's also new terms. So it's no longer called a goal or a point. It's called a try in rugby, which is an international term for when we do like Paralympics and stuff. A try in rugby. So basically, you 4-on-4 and you score across the court. You got to get the ball, which is essentially a volleyball, but a little harder and just slightly different material. But it's essentially a volleyball because we can't play with the oblong ball like a regular, like on able-bodied rugby, because we need to bounce it off the court. Pass is just a little, just awkward shaped and stuff. So, sorry, I'm getting a little bit rambly here on this, guys. But
You're
You're good, you're good.
No, actually, it's really perfect because someone from old school who played 20 years. I didn't even know they changed that from a score point to a try. That's pretty interesting. So I think you're doing great. And
yeah, so like, I'm trying to keep all the terms and things in, like to do it properly because I want to do it right. But if I do say goal or point, like just roll with me because I am still the try thing is just those last couple years and it's fairly new. Like Mandy, I don't know if your team does that or not, but like we started to a little bit the last couple practices and it was weird. Like it was like I just felt weird. Like okay, 2 tries to 3. Like I don't know. It just seemed weird to me. But anyways, that's the international term and that's what it's called like at the Paralympics and that is the proper terminology for it. So you basically want to score your try. I'm just gonna go with score a point. You have to score a point over the line, and to do that, you have to have possession of the ball. So you can't be. It's not like football where you can catch it over the line. You actually have to have possession of the ball when you cross, and you have to just cross with 2 wheels. Is all that has to cross to make the point. So it could be side 2 wheels. It could be the front 2 wheels. Or it can be, you can't be your back. So that's like little minor rules. It can't be the tiny casters in your back. You actually have to roll your main wheels in. So there's little things. But the main goal of the game is to have the most points at the end of the time. We play 4 8-minute quarters, which ends up being about an hour and 20-minute game because of stoppages with whistles and everything. The clock stops every time the ball's out of bounds and things. Every time the point is scored.
Kind of like basketball where there's a foul or out of bounds, the clock stops.
How
Yes.
similar to original rugby is it? Like, can you pass forward, or are you only allowed to like pass to the side and back?
Good question, Tom. So you can actually pass any way you want. It's not like a regular able-bodied rugby. So I would call it's a little bit of a combination of original rugby, hockey, and basketball. Like I kind of feel like it's a little bit of like it's got that like we pulled some sports because we have a penalty box like hockey, so you can get put into a penalty box for 1-minute penalties. Basketball, we have a lot of the same fouls like the reach in and things like that. We do a lot of things like pick and roll and strategy and things as well that we take from basketball. But it's definitely full contact like rugby or hockey or football.
Well, the nickname for this sport is Murderball. And let me tell you, from playing it a handful of times, I know where they got the name from because I busted a couple toes and, things got a little hairy for a second. But Shawn, really great, awesome description of the game and the rules and the breakdown. But I want to hear from our guest, Mandy. Can you tell us a little bit about like how long you've been playing the sport, how you got into quad rugby, and just about your experience with it?
Yeah, so I started playing rugby in January of 2019. We're on a team. Our team is called the Possum, and it was formed through an adaptive sports company called Sportable here in Richmond. And I had been a member of Sportable since 2017 and done a handful of other adaptive sports like rowing and archery and hand cycling. But they received a grant from the Nielsen Foundation and the Department of Veterans Affairs and got some old chairs donated, and they were ready to form a team. So we met first in January 2019, and everyone really loved it at first, and we basically just never stopped practicing. And so I think our coach and Sportable could see how serious a lot of us were about it, and they set up a rugby clinic that summer to be hosted by Joe Delagrave, the co-captain of Team USA. So he came and we had like a full weekend of rugby, just going over the strategies of the game and just the basics of drills and the importance of effort and communication to really what you need to be a successful player and a successful team. So that laid a really good foundation for us. And so in the fall of 2019, we went to our first tournament, and we went to about 5 tournaments on our first season. And that was our first year. So it was a cool experience to be, welcomed into like the new world of wheelchair rugby, which is kind of a small one, and they're all very supportive. So yeah, that was our first year. And then with 2020, the season being canceled, we were a little bit on our own. So I did, pushing by myself, and then our team did some outdoor conditioning, just keeping up with whatever we could to, um, you know, stay strong and stay sharp for when the season would start again. But yeah, so even though it's only been a little over 2 years, I think that we've really made those 2 years count. And so here we are in 2021. We have a tournament on the calendar for October. So I'm hoping that doesn't get canceled, because I think everybody's really, really looking forward to that. So yeah, that's
cool.
my
You guys have
experience so
one.
far.
What's your point level on the court, Mandy?
I'm a 0.5, so
And
0.
could you maybe
with the
explain
deduction.
what the classification system is and like how like it relates to like the rules of the game?
Do you want to try to explain some of that, Bobby? Or do you? Are you pretty
Yeah,
familiar?
I mean, I can. I don't know if it's changed
We
much.
can all
I
chime in
know
a little
that
bit.
guys in the when I first started, when they were considered 3.5s. Nowadays they're considered 2.5s or 2. So like, wait, well, back when we played, the classification was a much bigger range. I started in 1990, and I'm a 0.5 myself. So what that means is 0.5. Actually, I'm not even 0.5 anymore. In
Yeah,
technical
you're a
terms, right?
zero. You're a zero
Ah,
too. You and Mandy are both zeros.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's the one
man.
thing. I'll give a quick explanation. In rugby, they actually do give girls do get a 0.5 drop on the court. So whatever your actual classification is on the court, you play a half point under. Also, once you hit the age of 45, you get the same half point drop. So once so if you were like Bobby was a 0.5, he now plays as a 0. Mandy is a 0.5, but also plays as a 0 because of that little like adjustment, I guess, to try to level the playing field. They say, I guess.
Well,
Bobby, yo.
mine's due to my old age. So what's the
Right,
age?
Bobby's is because he's old.
Yeah. When did that 45?
Yeah, 45, you get it.
45, yeah. So I've been a
I
0 for
wonder
a
if I'll
while.
be. I wonder if I'll be a negative
Neg-
number when I'm older.
That would be
Yeah,
cool. Then
that's the problem is I think once
Negative
I don't know if you
0.5.
can.
So
And
what does that mean? So like what if let's say you're a 1 or a 1.5.
okay, so basically getting to that. So I'll 0.5, whatever, or 0 to a 0.5 is meaning most likely you're not going to have any triceps. So you're not going to be able to raise your arms up. You don't have any,
we have this.
no trunk control, limited shoulder functions. So trying to put your head over, balance, all starts to come into play. How strong your wrist extensions are. And then from there, it starts going 0.5 to 1, 1.5 to 2. And when you get into that, each time you go up a half a point, it's usually because you're a little bit stronger in a certain area. So one might have some traces of triceps, so they might be able to start to lift their arm up, or they can flicker out this way. A lot stronger in the wrist. When you get to 1.5, a little bit better, maybe balance, a little more wrist and some
Fine motor
extension
stuff.
flexion. When you get into 2, a lot better balance, probably most of your triceps, biceps.
So at the 2 level is where they kind of consider that's where high point starts. So they have what they call low pointer and high pointer. Usually 1.5 and below we are low pointers, and then 2 and up are high pointers, and that's who usually does more of the ball handling and like playmaking on the court.
So
Typically, all of us are blockers.
forgive me if I'm wrong, but you're only allowed to have so many points on the floor at one time, right?
Correct. So you can only have up to 8 points on the court at a time.
Depending on like, you need like, do you need like a certain number of quads? Like, does there have to be like at least like a 0.5 or, like a 1?
It can be any combination. So you can have 2 2 3.5s and 2.5s on the court at a time. So it doesn't matter. You can have,
I'll put this back up.
you can have 4 2s out there. I've seen that before.
Okay.
So it's just any combination, can't go over 8.
So this kind of does show a little bit. Like if you see, it shows you a little picture of the hands in the corner. Um, Typically, like this left side is the low pointer, and it shows like we're not doing a lot of ball handling. It's these guys on the right over here, the 2, 2.5, 3, and 3.5. I think is supposed to be in the middle. That are doing most of the ball handling, pushing a lot of the just the scoring and stuff. Yeah, we're setting picks, we're blocking, we're trying to hold other people out of the play, and so we typically are more battering rams and just blockers for the bigger, faster guys. But that's what they also do, a thing called low point tournaments, which I love. I don't know if Mandy, if you've gotten a chance to do one yet or not, but
Not yet.
they're like my favorite thing because they only allow up to 1.5, and instead of having 8 points on the court, you can have 3.5 total. So you run like it's a whole bunch of low pointers. The ball is all over the court, bouncing out everywhere. It is ugly. It's slower, but it's so fun to play if you're the low pointer quad as a 0.5. Like, it is just so much fun to actually do. Watching it, I don't know if it's the greatest to watch.
It is pretty boring and actually it's
so fun.
it hurts your neck more than anything because you're staring at the ground most of the time trying to get to that ball and pick it up.
Yeah, and you do get, so there, like I said before, rugby is a full contact sport. No hand contact, like you can't reach, like I can't reach out and punch Bobby on the court or try to rip his arm off the ball or something like that. But
Can you
I can
punch
hit
the ball, though?
I can hit Mandy's chair as hard as I want if I'm trying to not, like, if I can go full speed and just try to plow her right off the court or into the goal or just somewhere. There is strategy to hitting people as well.
Are you allowed to steal the ball?
Yes. So you are allowed to steal the ball, but the problem is it's like basketball, where if you reach in and you get the player's arm or hand at all, then that's a penalty. That's a foul. You'll be put in the penalty box for 1 minute. But if you can get a clean swipe on the ball and just swipe the ball off the lap, clean, good. It's good. That's good. So
Yeah, and I don't know, like that was always my problem. It's like my slow ass has to push with 2 hands, like slow across the court. Someone would just come up and swipe that ball right off my lap.
That's the problem with being a low pointer and trying to ball handle much. You'll get a fast high pointer that just comes up and swoops it right from you, and you're just like, okay, see you later.
Damn you, Dell. Damn you, Dell.
Yeah. But it's fun. It's cool though too. Sometimes, like Mandy, I don't know if you've gotten to score and stuff in regular games, but it's fun. And sometimes the high pointers set you up, and if you know how to play right, you can do it. Like, because there's a lot. So the game is simple: 4-on-4, take the ball, score at the other side. But there's actually a lot of strategy involved in rugby. Like there is a lot of offensive and defensive strategy. We set up the key defenses. You do press defenses. Like there is a lot of different strategy and things involved. It's not just like smash somebody as hard as you can, push as fast as you can. Like it's not all brute force.
And you need to have a lot of court awareness, where you are on the court. And actually, something that took me some time to learn, but when I learned it, it was like, oh, duh. More action is played during timeouts or when the clock is not running. I mean, literally you cannot stop thinking and look down and take a breather. You gotta know where you're at. You gotta be looking, for like Mandy, Shawn, and I'm looking to see where the fast guy is, to see if I can block him in some way to keep him down in a corner. And you just gotta be on all the time. And there's no resting sometimes when you're on for that 8 minutes, and that 8 minutes, because of each quarter, it's like probably almost 15 to 17 per minute per quarter.
Yeah. And just because the clock stops doesn't, like you said, you're not stopping. When the clock is stopped, you're still having to transition. Like you got to get to your point. You got to get to the next spot on the court. You got to get ready. So it's a really intensive game, very competitive, and that's one of the things I love about it. Like I was missing that, I think, in my life before I found rugby again after my injury. Was like that, like, because you can mess around and play games with your friends and stuff, your able-bodied friends, but it's not. You're not gonna, like they're gonna like baby you and give you like, here you go, dude. Yeah, dude. All right, good job. So when you're actually on the rugby court, it's a competitive level playing field, and like people are getting after it, like they want to win, like, and it's cool. It's just a great camaraderie and everything.
So I got a
Yeah,
question
that's
for
one
you.
thing I like. Oh,
Oh, go ahead. Talk first.
Go
and
ahead,
then
Mandy.
I was just gonna say, that's one thing I like about rugby is that there is, a job on the court for all functions, and each job is equally important. So, if you're not fast with speed, you have to think fast. So, and
Yeah.
know where to be on the court. So.
Yeah, that's seriously. I've learned that that's like one of the most important things. So, um, I played like 1 year, not really abroad, but I played for a team in Northern California. I played for a Sacramento, Reno team. So like I was traveling from Southern California. I drove up once a month to do practices up there, and then I just flew and met them at tournaments and stuff, which you're not actually really supposed to do in rugby much anymore. But they have different travel things. You're supposed to live in your vicinity, but there's so many rules and things, and people do and put teams together. But anyways, they needed a .5 up there, and I went up and played. And the coach up there is a guy named Rick Mason, who I want to shout out because like I love my coach here, Mike Doom. He's a great guy, nice guy, good coach. But Rick Mason was like really taught me a lot of skill. He's an older player. He's a 2 that played years and years ago, and had been retired from the game forever. But like he taught me so much, and that was one of the things he stressed was transition. Like, I mean, I really learned a lot. So that's one thing. Like, don't be afraid to travel for something. Like, if you really want to do it. Like, I really had the passion to play rugby. I really was like at the point trying to see if I could maybe make it to a national level. So like, I really wanted to do everything I could to play and learn and be the best player I could. So anybody out there, just like, it was worth it for me. I just want to say, like, I had a great experience, and I would advise anybody to try something like that if they can.
Yeah, I got to do the same thing, Shawn. I played for Arizona for one season. Actually got to go up to Canada, do the .5 tournament up, 1.5 tournament up there. That was a lot of fun, or the low picker tournament. Actually, we have somebody in the chat, Paul. Paul and I are good friends now, and because of Zoom and all that, and he lives up in Canada. And we were talking one day, and we finally realized, like, we were at that same tournament. I mean, 20 years ago, probably. And so it was kind of funny. Hey, I was at this tournament. He goes, yeah, I was too. So, and then I did it my last 2 years playing for a team out towards me, but we just played travel. That's all we did. We traveled to all these different tournaments and just got to learn a lot in my last 2 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's really cool. That's one of the best things I think about rugby too, is just the travel aspect of it. Like, Mandy, that's so cool. You guys' first tournament, you did 5, or your first season, you did 5 tournaments. Like, that's a good season, 5 tournaments. Like, that's nice. Like, that's traveling like once a month probably, and it's good. Like, so did you guys travel very far? What were some of the places you guys got to go?
We just went up and down the East Coast. So our first tournament was up in Philly, and then we went down to Charlotte and Raleigh, North Carolina, and then we had a couple tournaments in the DC area. But yeah, traveling with the team, our first experience, or that first season, exceeded the amount of times that I had traveled in the few years prior combined. So, and I think that traveling with the team is half the fun. Hanging out in the hotel and going to team dinners and stuff. So, yeah, I can't wait to travel more and farther away too. So when it's safe to do so.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get back to that sometime.
Yeah.
I don't know if how the 2020 this season will be much, but hopefully by next year we'll have like a full regular season going. I hope. But
how long have you been involved in adaptive sports, Mandy? Is it a more recent thing? Have you been doing it ever since you've been injured?
No, I didn't really start any adaptive sports until, I guess, 15 years after my injury. I spent those the first years like focused a lot on my education. I um, got a bachelor's degree, and um, so yeah, after I had graduated from college, I wasn't working yet, and I was trying to find some things to do, and looked up adaptive sports, and yeah, I started. I was lucky to find Sportable here in Richmond, and they had so many opportunities for me, and I just kind of jumped right in and signed up for like archery and hand cycling, and they have rowing and kayaking, and do a lot of different specialty events. So yeah, it's been awesome. They're a great organization.
Awesome. Yeah, I have a very similar experience. I didn't really get involved in any adaptive recreation until almost like 17 or 18 years after my injury. And I mean, I had a very active life. Like I was doing like a lot of stuff, just not any like with any adaptive organizations or like any like official adaptive sports. Like I was doing martial arts and like stuff, but it was just all like stuff I was adapting, like other able-bodied people and stuff, not like in the disabled community. But I discovered a lot through Triumph Foundation, and yeah, like right before the pandemic, was just getting into going into some rugby practices and playing with Shawn and some of the crew, and learning the game before the world shut down for a year. But really excited to finally get back to it and yeah, get out there on the court again.
Yeah, man, I can't wait to get back out there. I'm really looking forward to it.
I want
Yeah.
to ask Mandy something. And this can go out to you, Shawn, or and Paul brought it up in the chat. It was one thing about getting involved with wheelchair sports, quad rugby. It was around being with other people that were pretty much similar to your level of injury, and it was a big learning experience in the sense like I was using a leg bag that really I couldn't use with my hand function. I was not transferring the way I transfer now, the way I push a chair or what I was using and chair setup. And just by observing everybody and going, how are how do you pee on your own? And how do you do this on your own? And all of a sudden it's just like, oh, they show you, and the tricks and the trades that you get to learn at quad rugby tournaments was amazing. And I'm wondering if you felt like that in your 1.5 years of playing, Mandy.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the benefits I've experienced from, starting with adaptive sports and especially rugby. There's this like positive peer pressure that comes with being around other quads, and you see how they do things independently. And, you look at them and you say, well, if they can do it, I feel like I should be able to do that too, or at least try. And, I think Tom, I watched an old episode, and he mentioned about, you being injured fairly young. And as was I was about 13. I was 13. So on one hand, you're blessed with this situation where you have an amazing family that's very supportive and that they're around to help. But on the other hand, um, you know, it hinders you a little bit, and you need to be able to make it work on your own. So when
Yeah.
I was with the team and I, would see them traveling to these tournaments by themselves, and I was like, how are they doing this alone? So I actually went back to rehab, and we just I talked to my team and of doctors, and I was like, we need to go back to basics, because when I was young, they focused on teaching my family and my parents how to help me instead of teaching me how to, take care of myself. So we went back to rehab and went back to the basics of independent living. And I know transfers were one of the things that I really wanted to conquer. And I kept struggling with falling forward every time I would try to transfer. And so we were trying to problem solve and came across, Shawn, your video about the elbow down technique. And I just tried it, and I just popped right over, and we were like, oh my gosh, do it again.
Awesome.
So it's like
That's
this
awesome.
weird full circle moment to be talking to you now. since I've learned so much from your videos and stuff. But I'm so much more independent now, and that never would have happened if it wasn't for being, motivated by seeing my rugby teammates. So.
Well,
That's awesome.
Mandy,
That's
good
cool.
for you. That is so freaking cool and awesome that you like took that initiative and like had the courage to do that because it's hard. I had to do the same thing, and it's really tough to go back to basics. I'm sorry if I'm spazzing you guys. My computer's shaking. Um, I my parents, I love them to death. They're the best parents in the world. But like they were picking me up and carrying me around and transferring me all my life and stuff. And it's like much as they did push me, it was really like when I decided I wanted to move out and I wanted to do it, it was like go to talk to the docs, like go to rehab, like go back to the basics, and figure it out from square one. And that's amazing that you did that. I did that journey just before I found the Triumph Foundation and this like awesome disabled community down here in Southern California. But man, oh man, oh man, like as like the following years, like really made a difference. Just being more a part of the community, going to these adaptive rec events, meeting so many people and stuff, and learning the tricks of the trade, from people who do it and stuff. Like it's a never-ending learning process for us all every day, as anybody who lives this life knows. But being involved in a group like that, be it adaptive recreation, just a support group, or like you go out to dinner with a couple of your homies in wheelchairs, like every couple of weeks and stuff. It's really, I think, to your benefit to get out there in the disabled community a little bit, interact with some other wheelchair homies.
Rugby actually helped me like kind of bridge that gap too, because before rugby I kind of did like when I my first few years of injury, like I occasionally went to support groups, like back at Northridge, like especially like if they were on the same day as my therapy or doctor's appointment, like all right, I'll stay for the support group type of thing. But I wasn't really involved in the community. And then once I got involved in rugby, I actually started making like friends and really like really like becoming like more involved with them, like and being like, oh, this is actually really cool to hang out with these guys and stuff. Like I'm learning so much and all this stuff, and then after that, I really opened up more into the rest of the wheelchair community, like because I realized that that's a whole separate like it's almost a different world. Like they're like if you don't aren't in the adaptive sports world of like the wheelchair community, like you're not seeing a lot of stuff like that like you could and should be like that could help you and benefit you even in not in sports, just in life,
Just life, yeah.
So yeah, that's just
Are there other benefits to playing rugby outside the obvious? I mean, it's got to be a workout. Like, have you noticed, like, like your physical, ability has increased since you started playing rugby, Mandy?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
has it
absolutely.
helped out in other aspects of like quad living, like just life living?
Definitely. So I've seen a huge positive impact physically because I've mostly used a power chair since my injury. Um, and that was one hesitation that I had when I was approached to play. It was, would I be able to push the chair? So, I was, and I've gained so much strength since starting to play that right now I'm in the process of ordering, my own manual chair. And I can't wait to make the switch. I'm so excited for it to come
So
in. So
that's so funny, Manny. I'm doing the same thing, and it started because of rugby. Like I
that's awesome.
that's
was
so
like so
cool.
comfortable, like in like a bucketed like rugby chair, and like I saw like some other people had like bucketed regular chairs too, and I'm like, oh my god, like I just need like to adjust this a little bit, like make me sit a little bit more comfortably. Then I could push the freaking thing and not feel like I was having to like constantly balance all the time. So like it's been a battle with my insurance company, but they just took my old manual chair, which they're going to try to adjust and fit for me the right way, or we're just going to order a new one. And I want to start like using my manual chair more. So that's funny. If you want to like make the transition, I guess you just kind of get into some rugby, people.
Yeah.
It's a really good motivating tool, especially like because the people on the rugby team will kind of like there really are more your peers like that. So I'd be somebody'd be helping me do something like in the beginning of rugby, like feeding me or something like my first year, and I'd get the guys look at me like, no, don't do that. Don't feed him. Don't do that for him. Like, and it's just like, oh, like, like, I don't know. They just kind of like they give it to you real, and it's kind of like just make you do it, and I don't
Mandy
know.
said
For
it
me,
perfect
it helps
earlier,
me.
and I love the term positive peer pressure because that's what it is. It's like your homies that like want you to do this and like
Yeah.
want you to succeed and be independent. Like it's all love, but like they push you. It's like it's your sports team. It's like a different kind of environment. Like there's a different camaraderie I feel to it.
Oh no, they're definitely.
Yeah, but that's super cool.
Yeah.
Well, and
yeah.
it just really teaches you just to be independent, and I think that's why we say something like when we said it to Shawn, don't feed him. He can do it in himself because we know personally we came from there. He can feed himself.
Yeah.
Now I'm not gonna tell Shawn or Mandy, you can get in your chair yourself. Your rugby chair. Sometimes for us low guys, I got in my chair myself. It was always getting out. I was like, oh man, I do not. I am not. Do not want this practice to end just because I didn't want to get out of my chair. It was so hard. So a lot of times I just need help. So obviously we know that we might need help there, but for something like, feeding or doing something, putting on your shirt or something, you're like, no, you can get it. Come on. You can do it.
And that's the thing is usually they'll know kind of what your ability is, like, because they've experienced it. They've seen it. Like they know what you kind of should be able to do or like, like could do for yourself if you tried. So, and that's why an able-bodied friend or your whatever can't necessarily push you like that because they don't have that same experience. And like for you to hear it, it might not it might not come out right. Like if your friend's telling you like, no, do whatever, like you can do that. Like for, like when you hear it from somebody else that's in your same situation, then you think, okay, I guess maybe I can, like if he can, I like, or she can, I can. Like it's just like it gives you that better. It's just better to hear from somebody that's been through it. So it's just cool.
But we still have to make fun of Paul using a sliding board. That's all I have to say.
That's what, I'm gonna do a real quick shout out just to everybody in the chat real quick. I've been bad at that, but my mom and grandma say hi. Terry says hi. Base with Spades, good afternoon. Sean Brady, I like your hat. Sean Brady actually is a quad that has Brady ink, and he actually is the embroiderer and the printer for my stuff. So shout out to Sean Brady and Brady Ink. I order from another quad support and quad business.
If you guys have any graphic design needs or any like t-shirt or like printing needs, then hit him up.
Yeah, Brady Ink. You can hit them up. Contact me if you need to. You can look it up. Brady Ink. They're located in San Diego.
What's
just
up,
a smaller
Andrew?
little printing shop.
UK across the pond. Hip Crit. What's up,
We
dude?
got Walter in the house too.
Walter.
Our friend from Triumph. Walter's a para, but he loves freaking rugby. Like anytime we have adaptive sports things and he can come out and play, he is game. He's out there. Base of Spades. Sorry, you guys didn't have rugby out there. That's that sucks at not having it everywhere we need to be, or wherever.
What's up, Peter?
Yeah, we got Peter, Paul. What's up, guys?
Thanks for indulging us for a moment, Mandy. We just wanted to shout everybody out.
Yeah, just make sure everybody. Make sure we acknowledge everybody. That's part of the live. We gotta. That's why people come to watch live. You guys want to be. We want everybody to be part of the show. So
going back into the chat, John.
Oh, Roland Rick from Chicago Bears. Is that Ricky Bobby Rick? I love this guy. Rick is the man. I've hung out. He used to live in Vegas and play for Vegas. I'm pretty sure that's Rick. I know that's the same picture at a concert being chair surfed. But yeah, Mandy, I think is that your Nathan? Is that your dad or something? He says hi.
That's my brother.
Oh, your brother. Awesome. What's up, Nathan?
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Anything.
Awesome. Ken's another rugby player. He was just on the show too with us. A few weeks ago. He lives
Ken is the man.
Yeah, Ken's awesome. Ken's a 1, I believe, right, Ken? I think you're a 1. So we got a lot
So
of low pointers in the house.
this is a big to kind of steer us back on course here a little bit.
Yeah, sorry, go.
So everyone watching, you guys are the best. Everyone in the chat, thank you for commenting. Keep on commenting because it makes these videos more popular, and we love it. But Mandy, I got a question for you. So I, along my journey of independence, this like last 7 or 8 years, that's like changed my life. I just started to tackle traveling. I've been pretty homebound in Southern California after moving from NorCal, but I haven't really gone too far. Now I just did my first couple hotel stays. Like I've conquered the first like 2 or 3 hotels like nearby, like just in case something happened or went wrong. But traveling is kind of the big next thing on my like independence bucket list that I want to tackle. And since it sounds like you have a little experience with it, can you tell us a little bit about like how it was traveling to the rugby tournaments, how you did it? Like, did you travel with a caregiver and stuff? Like, I'm still trying to kind of figure out how I want to do it all.
Yeah, so I have, when I traveled with the team in in our first season, that was when I saw my teammates traveling alone, which motivated me to go back to rehab and learn how I could do that too. So I have yet to travel by myself since
Okay.
learning everything and with the travel with the COVID restrictions and stuff. So I'm anxious to try, transferring into.
What was it just
Other
with hotels and like airfare? Like, did you go on a plane? Like, was like hotel a struggle? Like, even traveling with a caregiver or someone? Because most of the travel that I've done has always been with a caregiver, someone who's at least familiar enough with me to help me transfer and things like that. But it still can be quite the struggle managing a hotel or, getting on and off an airplane, which I haven't flown. That's a big one that I got to do. I don't know if you have. Have you?
I have, yeah, I have flown, but I had help with me, so that's another
Yeah.
thing I'm looking forward to trying too.
Yeah.
I just saw a shout out from Josh Birch. He's my
Yeah,
teammate.
Josh. Oh, you play? Oh, you're on. Nice. I know, John. I actually played a low point tournament with Josh. We put like a little team together and played in Arizona. That was the first time I had really met and hung out with him. He's cool. I like Josh.
Yeah, he's great.
And Ken says, "What's up again too? What's up, buddy? Yeah, Rick, that is me. Awesome. It's cool. All my rugby friends hanging out. We got everybody coming.
No, we got
But I was gonna chime in on that, Tom, a little bit on the travel. So. For me, that was one of my goals was to independently go to these tournaments, because initially I always brought, either my mom or my brother, which bringing my brother was a lot more fun. I had somebody to hang out with and not that you're not fun, Mom, if you're already watching. I appreciate your help. But what I ended up doing, so I actually did travel for a few years by myself. And what I would do, well, I would travel with the team because at least I would have a little bit of help either from other guys in the chair or the coach is usually there. But staying by myself, what I would do for my caregiving, because I always would have to do, like a bowel care and shower at some point on the trip. I actually would go ahead of time, like a week or two ahead of time, on the local Craigslist for the city that I was going to. And I would place an ad that I needed a caregiver for 4 or 5 hours or whatever the time was that I would put a block in. I would put a pay and I would email and talk to these people for the week leading up to it. I would set somebody up and I would have the day and time set up for them to come meet. And I mean, obviously that's sketchy. It can be. You're meeting somebody random in a city, but
warning, do this at your own risk.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting
that.
that.
Don't come back if the Craigslist killer tries to be your caregiver.
Yeah, so, and then Joey actually just typed in the chat here. Joey Merrick is a 1-5 on our team. A lot of rugby players bring their caregivers on flights or maybe able-bodied team helper who can help multiple players, which is exactly what we do. Usually, like, the coach will help everybody on and off the flight, like if you need your cushion or anything like that. He'll make sure the chairs are getting taken down right and not getting too damaged. So it is very helpful to have somebody
And
there.
also, he's that person that gets that telephone call at like 8 in the morning. Hey, can you help me grab this?
Yeah, that's true too. So, and I've had to do that too. Like, and I've also been in the
Oh
hotel
yeah.
room. Like, so I roomed with Mike DeYoung a few times. I've roomed with higher pointer players. It's not as bad. But I roomed with another point five, Mike DeYoung, who's a good friend of mine, also. And like the two of us, like I've had him helping me put my shoes on. Like I'm still on the bed, and he's like hammering the bottom of my shoe, trying to get the heel over it. Like no chunk. Like you just do what you gotta do sometimes, and like you just make it work. Like, so you got quads helping quads, and that's just the life. It's fun. Like it's an adventure. Like
Or I'll come. I used to
Double
come down
quad,
to
but
the
then you call it
lobby,
out.
and my coach would be there, and I'd be like, "Hey, can you give me a hand for a second?" They're like, "Yeah, what's up?" I just lean far back. I'm like, "Can you grab that button? I just can't get it." So the button or something, or I got a knot here. You just need to get it done.
yeah, man, that's exactly. But yeah, so that's just. It does help to have somebody around, Tom. But but you can do it for sure. There's ways. There's ways to figure it out and to do the travel. So
Yeah, like my big thing, I've talked about it before, is like, I mean, it's always just like my bladder, I can handle it, no problem. Like, and cath irrigate, like the whole thing, like no issue. It's just the bowel carrier, like is always the tough one managing. Like doing the care, you like dealing with, whatever, if like there's an issue or something. But yeah, I've been working on problem solving and made some considerable progress in the last year or so. But
Tom,
hold on.
Tom,
Yeah.
one thing that was great with, first bringing somebody, it does make it a little more comfortable. Learning from other guys, that was great, and that's what I did. And then all of a sudden, when I discovered, and back before the internet, when I was doing rugby, I was looking or calling Yellow Pages and just calling nursing agencies like, "Do you do this? Do you do this?" And I saw it once at a rugby tournament and did it, and then it gave me so much confidence that it was great. In my late 20s, I was traveling everywhere with friends. We were going to New Orleans, we were going to North Carolina, just traveling all over, the States. Just I didn't have a care in the world because I knew that I made arrangements on the other side, and my friends they didn't have to help me out in any way when it came to that kind of stuff. So it opened up, the world for me once I learned that this is what people do, and it's scary. And there was even one time I traveled up to Fresno I was a director for a wheelchair sports camp, actually muscular dystrophy camp, MD, and they ended a day earlier. I was like, well, this is I wanted this to be all weekend, so I thought, let me go up to Yosemite and see some of Yosemite. Got a hotel for the night, and actually the next morning I was getting in my chair and I fell backwards. And didn't panic, just kind of reached up, grabbed the hotel phone, and called the front desk, said, "This is going to sound weird, but I fell, and if you can get a couple maintenance guys." And they came, opened up the door, and got me back in my chair. Just like that. I was like, "Yeah, and while you're here, can you just grab that bag and zip it up for me?" They're like, "Yeah." So, it just, you learn that you can just do whatever. And I didn't fear it. I mean, now that I'm getting older and slower, and I'm like, oh man, that's a lot of work. But I still don't have a fear if I had to go do that.
The first time I was ever visiting school down here, I traveled down here with my mom, and we got like a hotel for the weekend. But while she was like driving, like one of her discs, like she has a bad disc in her back, and it slipped out, and her back was just done. And we were still trying to do it, and she was helping me transfer the next morning, and just wasn't working. And we went down, and I was down on the ground, like on the floor. We're like, what are we gonna do? Because she couldn't get me up, and there was some construction happening like on the hotel. She's like, give me a minute. She like slapped some clothes on me real quick because I was naked, and went downstairs and got a couple burly construction workers, and they came on up and picked my ass up and tossed me in the chair. So I wasn't fully solo, but I was like with my primary caregiver, but it was still a wild adventure. Kind of reminded me of that story. But that's what you got to do sometimes. You know, gotta like deal with what you got. And sometimes you gotta ask a stranger for some help. You know, like it can be, I don't know. I think it's only embarrassing if you let it be embarrassing. Like most often, people are more than happy and willing to help. Help someone out in a tight situation. It's nothing to, be ashamed of or anything.
And another tip for hotel stuff is you can call, like, say your bed is too high to transfer. You can call the front desk and they'll have maintenance come remove the box spring for you. Yeah, Bobby, your dog is just like cracking me up over there,
Oh,
dude.
I know. It's like, I know you just came in and just like, she hasn't done that in a long time. It's pretty funny.
That was awesome. But yeah, I was just gonna say you can like Bobby called to get picked up. Like you call the front desk at any hotel and they will maintenance. I've even had to have we've been at tournaments and like when there's all these rugby teams, all these people in wheelchairs at the same hotel, the chances of you getting an accessible shower room is like impossible. So we've had to have the bathroom door literally removed for the weekend. Like they came and took it off the hinges for us because the way it opened up blocked the tub and we weren't able to get in there. So it's just like, all right, if somebody's in the bathroom, you just got to stay on the other side of it. Like the roommates in, like that's their bathroom time because that was it. But they will make accommodations, is what. So.
Oh, Shawn, I was in Atlanta at an old hotel, and the hinges had been painted so many times, they sawed it off. They just took off the whole door and just sawed off the hinges and everything. They're like, we'll worry about this later. I was just like, dang.
See, they will do something.
The last time I stayed at a hotel, it was like one of my first times, like on my own trying to do it. There was a cabinet that was just in the way, like it made it like impossible to like get past the bed or whatever. And they came and just unscrewed it, took the sucker off. So that's super awesome. It seems like hotels are pretty awesome in that capacity in making it work. And, I found like if you get a little huffy, you get a little like upset, they can be not like less inclined to help you. Oftentimes if you're like, hey, I want to work with you, I want to make this work. Like most of the time, people are generally willing to meet you halfway and make something work for you.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up towards the end, just kind of go around to the pro rugby players. Yeah.
Tom, why we still have a lot of viewers right now, but we have very little likes. So let's get some likes in and hit the like button for Shawn and for all the hard work.
Also,
especially our guest here, Mandy.
I had saved a few random just pictures off the internet of rugby shots because videos are hard to get. But these are some rugby pics. I'll show up real quick as we're hanging out here for a second. So this is that's actually Australia and Japan right there. We got more Australia and I think it's Canada. Yeah. So yeah, like chairs get off the ground. Let's see. This guy right here, this is Riley Batt. He is considered and pretty much by everybody to be the number 1 player in the world. He's led Australia to several gold medals now, and he's pretty much a beast. Yeah, so that's and like I said, the quad amputees are like really dominate. And then I also grabbed these just to give you guys some more clarification too. These are the differences. So all 4 of us would use the chair, these ones right here with the front big picker. That's a low point chair. And we have this big front picker on the front, that big basket. That is actually made to stop and hook the wings on the other chair that are on the front of the other smoother looking chair. So if you're basically a 2 to a 3.5, you're in this smoother looking chair. And if you're a 1.5 to 0.5, the low point, you're in that guy. And they're just made completely different. You can really see, and that's all part of the strategy of the game.
Why do the quads always get the bigger, clunkier chairs? Damn it. I want something sleek and small.
Yeah, so you can also see, That's what it like. Our chair, you can see how big and wide the push rims are. They're really big, rubbery push rims because we don't have as much hand function. And then on the high point chair, it's a nice big flat surface. So most of the high pointer guys don't have a lot of actual hand function because like they are quads, but they push with they can open their hands and they'll do open palm pushes down the sides of the chairs most of the time. So just wanted to show some of those for clarification for everybody.
Well, Shawn, if you would have showed my first rugby chair, we didn't have those. So it was just your everyday chair. And we put on spoke guards, which we considered to protect the spokes. That didn't last long. I just saw Mason up. He gave us a thumbs up. He's watching right now. Him and I started back in 1990. So we didn't, you had one strap on and you just kind of pushed up and down the court, just weren't sure what to do. And then the game progressed a couple years later when they started making actual wheelchair rugby chairs.
Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Man, that must have been a little wild and scary, hitting someone full speed in just like a regular manual chair.
Well, and a lot of times it was your chair. It was your everyday chair. So you didn't want to damage it. You're like, oh man.
Yeah,
So,
like I gotta go home in this and push around tomorrow.
That's so funny. So just to, I want to just do a little roundtable with like you three guys, since you've all played this in the most professional capacity. What is your advice for someone who's aspiring or maybe curious about doing this and getting into rugby? Do you have any? Yeah, what are your words of wisdom for someone who's interested? And we'll start with Mandy.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I say go for it, and it's never too late to start. I mean, I didn't start until about 16 years after my injury, so go find your closest adaptive sports club or rugby team, and go watch a practice and get in a chair and get knocked around a few times and have fun. It's great.
Awesome, I love it,
no,
Bobby.
for
sure. It just gives you a lot of freedom. It set me up for a lot of wheelchair sport, playing other wheelchair sports, being comfortable to go out and do water skiing and snow skiing. I took a college class where there was just tennis, and I was the only able body, and I just signed up and thought, why not? I'll get my PE out of the way this way. So I signed up for tennis and didn't think twice about it, and just set me up for a lot of things and got me a lot stronger, a lot more independence.
For sure, yeah. And
And
for me,
our illustrious producer, last but certainly not least, Shawn.
I honestly, I have similar advice as Mandy. Just go for it. Like, don't be afraid to just like, because I know a lot of people I think are afraid, like, oh, it's like just like the showing up and like they're not sure what to expect, and like they know it is a full contact sport, and maybe that's scary, especially if you're kind of newly injured. You still might be in a little bit of a state of thinking you are quite like still pretty fragile, especially because most of the time your family treats you like that initially, like you're very fragile at first. So you just gotta try it. You just gotta just don't let your fears hold you back. Really, that's just the main thing I really gotta like emphasize, because I did. So I'll tell a quick story here. I actually was told about rugby, and Northridge was having a little tournament at their gym. You guys were playing. I think you were playing for Loma. I don't remember, Bobby. Actually, maybe you weren't playing then. I don't remember, but it was Loma Linda was playing Northridge. Just 2 games. So occasionally, every year, teams have to host a tournament. So we would host literally a 1-day tournament with a local team just to fulfill that requirement. So I went and watched that before I had started playing at all. And these dudes were pushing up and down the court flying. I saw Delman was actually there, who's a 2.5 on our team that I play with now. And he is he's really fast. He's good. He's a strong player. And I just saw him ripping up and down the court. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this. Like, I can barely push my chair. What what the hell am I going to do out there? Like, and so I was afraid. I literally was like, nope, I'm not doing this. Oops, I hit my desk all hard. I was like, I'm not doing this. And it took me a whole nother year to really like, okay, go back out. And I showed up for a practice. Mike DeYoung convinced me. He's like, just come out, dude, just check it out. Just come to the practice. It's not going to be like the games. And I came out to a practice and never looked back from that point on. As soon as I got in the chair myself, got a ball thrown to me, and like I could barely push the thing, but like it was just like this amazing thing that happened, and literally was just a second, like, and it was my life changed. So yeah.
As an aspiring wheelchair rugby player, I've only really dipped my toes in the water. I went to, I think, like 2 or 3 practices, and I played like once or twice at a couple adaptive recreation events. The advice that I'll give you is just give it one practice. If you can't wipe the smile off your face at the end of it, then you'll probably like have your answer already. You know that like it was probably a good choice to go out there, because I guarantee that's probably going to be the result, because that's how it was for me. Like, I don't know, there's just something about getting knocked around a little bit in your chair and like, you know, getting a ball tossed and like catching it, you know, like feel like, you know, you're playing a sport again and participating. And, you know, the other thing that I really wanted to reiterate is what Mandy said is it's never too late. I was like 16, 17 years after my injury before I did my first independent transfer. It was, you know, 23 years, you know, after my injury that I first got into a rugby chair and, you know, like tried to play for the first time. And it is never too late. I was a little intimidated going out there as a quad too, but man, like once you're in it, like, you know, you see what you're capable of and stuff, but it really does feel different. And it's really, really cool, amazing feeling. So just like all the rest of these guys, there is no excuse. Just go out there and give it a shot. Find a local rugby team, somewhere you can, you know, some people you can go hang out with at a practice. I guarantee it'll be a good time.
Definitely, yeah. And also, I have some links in the description if you are interested. I have the USQRA, which is what runs our like US league, which is like all our local teams, and then also the IWRF, which is the International Rugby Federation, which is what runs and governs the Paralympic stuff, all the USA international play. And then also I linked the video from the 2016 USA versus Australia gold medal match. It was an incredible game. You guys can check it out and watch it. I won't spoil the ending for you, but if you want to watch, like, I watched all those Paralympic games and I'm really excited that NBC is actually going to be streaming some on TV. So I will be posting, look out on my Instagram and things, because I'm going to try to share all that, because they are going to be playing some for this 2021 Paralympics. They're going to be streaming a bunch of rugby stuff. So check it out. It's really awesome to watch.
It's super cool.
Yeah, sorry.
Andy, thank you so much for joining us today, sharing all of your awesome knowledge and you know, rugby experience.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody who's watching today. Just to reiterate what Bobby said earlier, if you haven't smashed that like button, go and hit it. It really helps out the video on the channel, helps support Shawn. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe. And if you feel like sharing this video to any other, you know, like quads or anybody else you know that you might be interested in, please do so. And we really appreciate all your guys' support.
Yeah, thank you again. Also, one more quick shout out. Thursday, the Women's Disability Show is coming up. Brianna hosting. So that is coming up a couple days here. Just wanted to make sure to get that in there. Check that out. And we'll be back next week, Tuesday, for another live. Next week's a little special one. It's on 420, so it's going to be a little bit of a party.
Have fun, you guys.
We're not going to say any more about it.
But all right. Like Tom said, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys next week.